Hey guys, welcome to another video. Felipe here, veteran, United States Marine Corps captain. And this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about how I ended up with my bootmobile, my 2017 Mustang GT 5.0 Coyote MT82 Mustang with about 435 horsepower. And I remember back in the day, that was a shit. That was top of the line horsepower, like you're beating everything, but except like scat packs, obviously, and things like that. But so yeah, let's jump right into it. So some quick background. I've always liked Mustangs. The 2004, 2005 model was always like, I was like, I want one of those. And when I was 19, I had a Acura Integra, if you guys know what that is, from 1994. So it was the year I was born, 1994. And about a year into it, I totaled it, rear-ended somebody, and shortly after that, like my family gave me a little Toyota Camry, little beater as well, and then I ended up getting a Infiniti G35, and that carried me through till a month before I went to OCS. And what happened was that mid August, I was preparing for OCS, and my mom was borrowing the car to do her things, and she got in a car accident and totaled the car. Like she hit the brakes, heavy traffic, swerved under a semi, and like the semi took half the vehicle. I'll show a picture of it here in a sec, of what it looked like. So totaled it, but you know what? It didn't matter because a month later I shipped out. Not even a month. I think like 2.5 weeks later. That happened like mid August, September 9th. I had flown out to Virginia to go to OCS. So I didn't have a car, right? And after OCS, you go to TBS, the basic school, which is right across the street. It's the other side of the base, and you stay in the barracks there. So I didn't need a car, but towards the end of that program, the 26-week program, you get your orders and where they're going to send you next. And for me, I was like, you know what? I got to start planning. And if I go back to California or if I stay here, I'm going to want a car. And I didn't just want any car, though. I wanted something that I was going to drive for a long time. I wanted something that was going to last me, something that I was going to enjoy to drive every day, and something that no matter how shitty the day was or how shitty the day went, how late the night was that I worked, or if I just spent a week in the field, I was going to come back to my car and I knew it was going to take all that stress or all that mind. It's going to clear my mind and it's going to take me out of that zone and put me in a happy place, right? Like in Happy Gilmore, find your happy place. So that was something for me that I wanted in a car. And so I started looking, I was like, hey, you know what? I want something economical. And I was looking at Toyota Camrys, Corollas. I started looking at Honda Civics, Honda Accords. But you know what? All these cars were about $30,000 anyways, right? And just for the kicks, I started looking at Mustangs. I don't even know why that came up, but maybe the whole stigma, right, where the bootmobiles, the boots get these sports cars with high interest rates. Maybe I saw some of that, and it was like, you know what? Let me look at some of these Mustangs, and I was always a Mustang guy. I was always a Ford. Um, so I saw some Mustangs, and I remember seeing like the 2014 models, the Mustang GTs, and they were still about like 24,000 used, and I hate that. But so I don't know. I don't know why the vehicles were so expensive, like the Toyota Camrys, the used cars, and the Honda Accords, the Honda Civics. They were super expensive. And I started looking at new Mustangs, 2017 Mustangs, because this was around the time 2016, 2017 time frame when I was going to graduate TBS June 2017. So I had started looking back in like February, March, and then I started doing research and kind of like, hey, what do I want to get? And I saw this Mustang, I think around May time frame. I saw this Mustang online, Mustang GT at a Ford dealership in Maryland, and they had a online price of 26,600. And I was like, what? I was like, this thing costs less than the Toyota Corolla, the Toyota Camry, the Honda Accord, the Honda Civic. I was like, no way. There's no way, right? So I called this dealership up and I was like, hey, um, I'm calling about this Mustang GT. You have it listed for 26.6 online. Is this the like out the door price? Is this what I'm gonna pay besides taxes, title and fees, right? And he was like, "Yep, that's it." And it's 26.6. I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna come down this weekend and take a look at it." And um, it was in Maryland, so from Maryland to Virginia, it's only like 45 miles, but it's actually it was like a hour and a half, 2 hour drive, and it's just because of the fucking traffic. The traffic blows over there in the DC area, the what they call it, the DC area, crossing all that up to Maryland, and yeah. So, anyways, I took two of my other lieutenant buddies, Pac and I don't remember the other guy's name, but one of them was a financial manager. He had like an MBA prior to doing the service. He was in finance, so I think he decided to have a change of career, and so he went to the Marine Corps and commissioned. Well, they were two of my close buddies, so I took them with me. I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go see this vehicle. Come with me, help me out if I have any questions. You guys are my mentors, right?" And so we drove up. Pack drove us up, and we get there, and I'm like, "Hey, here to see the Mustang," and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, and go get the keys, whatever." And we go for a test drive, and so if you guys don't know, Mustangs have like no back seats. Like if you're 6 feet and over, your neck is like this in the back seat. Okay. So Pack and my other buddy, both of my buddies, sat in the back, the salesman in the front passenger seat, and then I drove. Right off the bat, I stalled the car on reversing out. Like I completely stalled it. But get as soon after that, I had it down. Test drove the vehicle and didn't stall it again until I parked it. Totally forgot to put it back in neutral. But I mean, I freaking love that thing. I was like, hey, you know what? Feels good. Like 26.6, like that's not bad. I had a pre-qualified check from Navy Federal for 28,000 at a 2.8%, 2.89% interest rate. So um, I was like, I didn't tell him that I had the check ready. I kind of just went up there and I was like, I got this in my back pocket. And so, we sit down and the guy's like, hey, so it's going to be 34,000 plus, freight plus all these things. It's going to be like 30, something plus. I was like, whoa, 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 hold on. I was like, you told me on the phone before I drove 2 hours up here that it was 26.6 minus the not including taxes and title and fees, right? And the guy was like, well, like that was only if you finance through us. And I was like, no, you told me that there was no other stipulations here, that it was just this 26.6 online price plus this. And he's like, you know what, let me go get my manager. And the manager comes out and he's like, hey, so why don't you want to finance through us, right? Because they were only going to give me that price if I finance through them. And I was like, look, I have a check here from Navy Federal, a pre-approval for the auto loan at 2.89% interest rate. And my buddy was like, look, if they match it, go with them, sure. But if they can't match the interest rate, absolutely not. And the manager was like, he takes a look at the check and he's like, yeah, we can't match this. He's like, best we could do is like a 5%. And I was like, no way. Like, I'm not gonna do a 5% interest rate. And it's funny because in the military, you always get these stories, these horror stories where service members have like a 18, 23% interest rate, 30% interest rate on these vehicles. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was just a little smarter than some of these, and I was like, no way. Like I thought 5% was out of control. I thought that was insane, way too high. And so the manager was like, hey, we can't match. And I was like, well, look, man, like I was like, it's kind of messed up because I talked to your salesman on the phone and I told him, and he said clearly that no, it was 26.6, no financing through you guys, taxes, title, and fees on top of that. So I drove 2 hours. I was like, we just drove 2 hours to come see the vehicle to buy it because of what your salesman told me. He was like, okay, you know what? Hold on, let me go talk in the back, whatever. They come out like 10, 15 minutes later, and they took it. They sold it to me for 28,000. Oh, it was 26.6, taxes, title, fees, everything. It was like 28,800, and I put like $2,000 down because I was a broke lieutenant, and I had no savings, guys. When I joined the Marine Corps, when I didn't join the Marine Corps. When I went to OCS, I had $18.26, and I'll show you guys a statement of this. I was so broke, I didn't even have a bed to sleep on. So, um, a lot of my money went to I paid off my $7,000 in student loans that I had my freaking first few months in the service as a lieutenant. Paid off all my uniforms because you guys know those things are fucking expensive, and the remaining that I had left was like the $2,000. Like that's all I had, and so I was like, hey, I'll do $2,000 down, and so I took the vehicle for 20,800 at a 2.89% interest rate. So over the and I registered in Virginia, so I think sales tax was like 7% or something like that. But either way, I ended up only paying like $2,000, $2,100 in interest on the vehicle alone. So like that was pretty legit, and I did pay off a little early. Um, so for the last like 2.5 years, I didn't have a auto loan. So that's how I ended up with the Mustang GT 2017 MT82. Um, 435 horsepower Mustang. And so, yes, I fell in the category of the boot, right? Like everybody knew, like the red Mustang with the black stripes. Everybody knew that that was Lieutenant Gomez or Captain Gomez, and he was a freaking boot because first thing he did was he went and bought a sports car. All right, yes, that was me. That's how I ended up in that position. However, I will argue that I was not that much of a boot because my interest rate. I mean, I didn't fall into the shark loan sharks. I didn't fall into the 2018 23% interest rate on a loan, on an auto loan that was 5 years long, right? So, I think I did that kind of smart. So if you're a service member and you're like, hey, I want to go get a vehicle, take somebody with you, somebody who knows about finance, somebody who knows about interest rates, especially like when you're 18, 19, you don't really know any of that stuff, right? They don't teach that in high school. They don't teach that anywhere. I didn't even learn that in college. So, um, granted, I was a criminal justice major, but either way, like you don't, no, nobody really teaches you about this stuff, right? So, anyways, fast forward 7.5 years later, actually 8 years later, 2024 March, I went I so well. Let me back up. I started doing research for my next car, right? And I don't know why I was like, you know what? I want another Mustang. Like I don't want anything else. I would like something fuel efficient, but you know what? The Mustang made me feel awesome. I wanted to drive this thing every day, no matter, even if I worked a 12-hour shift, and then I went to school after, and I freaking I would put the back seats down of my my Mustang, and I would take a nap in the back for like half an hour before going to class after work or vice versa, right? Like I love that thing, and I pretty much lived in the thing. That Mustang went to California from Virginia, back to Virginia from California, and then from Virginia back to California again for my last, my end of service. And I put like 90,000 miles on it, almost 100,000 miles on that Mustang, and it never had any issues. The issues I had with that Mustang, the 2017 Mustang GT that I had, was the starter gave out on me in 2024 and the battery. I replaced those myself. I mean, cost me like $300, and good as new. Have no issues. I did its oil changes, and I kept up with the maintenance religiously. That's how I've always been with the Mustang and my cars. So, um, yeah, that's how I ended up with that Mustang. And so I was like, you know what? I want another Mustang. I looked at like fuel efficient cars like a Prius, a Tesla, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be so depressed. I don't want to be driving this thing after working long ass hours, going to school. I'm at home freaking 6 hours of the day, 3 hours of the night sometimes because I was working from 3 a.m. to 3 p.m., going to class from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and then come home, shower, eat my food. It's freaking 11:30 p.m., and I gotta wake back up at 2:30 to make sure I'm at work at 3 a.m., or 3:30 a.m. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get something I want. And so for my 30th birthday, I ended up buying a Shelby GT350 2019. So I started doing research on the vehicle about 6 months before, like October, November timeframe of 2023, while still in the Marine Corps. And technically, I was also on my skill bridge program and terminal and all that stuff. So um, yeah, I started looking at Shelby GT350s, and I was like, okay, that's not bad. $40,000 for like a 2016, 2015, 2016. But I had done some research, and the Shelby GT350s have oil consumption issues, right? So if you get them from the year of like 2015 to 2018, because Ford fixed the issue in 2019 and 2020 models. And what's crazy with my 2019, I have no oil consumption issues, but either way, I still do the oil changes religiously at 3,500. I know the freaking manual says 7,500 to 10,000 miles, which is kind of crazy. Like I've never done that, and I know my dad does that he did that with his Ford, and I mean, lasted him like 12 years. But hey, to each their own, right? And so yeah, I ended up doing tons of research. I went and test drove a couple of them, and the thing with the Shelby GT350s 2018, 2019 models, I mean, any of them really, in California, they're so overpriced. I mean, right now, so I've had my Shelby GT350 for 9 months now. And, sorry, 10 months. I've had my Shelby GT350 for 10 months. I still go back and look at online comparables, and they're still over $60,000. I didn't even pay $60,000 for mine. I paid $55,000 for mine. Has the rear seat delete, freaking awesome, brand new engine, and like I don't know, you can't beat it. I mean, I think I got freaking hooked up by Ford Underwriter of Dales in Oregon. So thank you guys. And yeah, I $67,000 is what one of the dealerships nearby was quoting me for 2017. I was like, no, dude, I'm not gonna pay that. That's crazy. And I went to another one in Brea here in uh, Orange County area. I don't even know what to call it, Fullerton area. And in Brea, the dealership wanted they was listed at 67, not even including all the add-ons that they try to get you with, and they don't even remove them unless like I don't know, you go freaking bat like tooth and nails with these guys. It's something I wasn't willing to do, right? Like I was like, hey, what's your best price? I don't want any of the fees. What can you give me? And they're really staring on their price. And you know what? I was looking at a lot of these vehicles, Shelby GTs, 350s, and they were sitting for over 300 days. I was like, the hell, you're paying all these fees on these cars, and you're not even willing to negotiate to get it off your lot and get the inventory moved, right? To free up some of that money. I don't know. But that's just what I saw. So yeah. Anyways, found this Shelby GT350, the one I own now, and in Oregon. So I flew up. I called the guy up. I was like, hey, I'm down to put 8,000 down, fly up, pick up the vehicle, and I'm gonna drive it back to California. So yeah, I flew up to Oregon with my fiance, my girlfriend at the time, and they picked us up at the airport in Oregon, and we drove about 2 hours to get to Dale's. And I meet with the salesman, the one I had to talk to on the phone, and he was like, hey, here's the keys, go ahead, take it for a test drive, and we'll see you back in a little bit. I was like, awesome. Took it out. We're gone for a little bit. Came back, and I was like, yeah, this is it. Like I went in there blind, and I'm thankful and that everything turned out good with this car, because things can go really wrong when you kind of just go in there blindly without test driving the vehicle. But I already had committed to the vehicle prior to heading up there, so um, I get with the finance guy, right? The guy brings me over to the finance. The sales guy brings me over to the finance guy, and he's like, "Hey, so here, he's writing up all the paperwork. I mean, man, I have it right here." And he was like, "Hey, with options and all these things, maintenance, like you're looking at like, what did he tell me?" So he had told me, Cody was a sales guy. I know the paperwork right here. It was like $8,000 of maintenance for the term of the loan, or for 3 years or something. I think it was 3 years. They wanted the $8,000 that they were going to put on top of my car loan, right? So I actually ended up paying, cash price was $55,196. Total cash after sales tax, which was $5,600, and the processing fee was $62,000 flat. I put 8,000 down, so it brought me down to 54,000, right? So I financed the vehicle for $54,000, and my payments were 934. However, paid off the vehicle since then, so now I own that thing outright. And pretty awesome. But the guy was trying to put an $8,000 service charge for 3 years on top of that, which didn't cover powertrain, which was my biggest issue. Right? I was like, look, if the engine blows up on me, I want you to be able to replace that. He's like, well, that's not covered under that. And I was like, you know what? Then I don't want it. And because he was like, well, why not? I was like, well, how many oil changes can I get with that for the year free through the service plan, right? And the guy was like 3, and I'm like, no, dude, what are you talking about? I'm gonna do at least 4, at minimum, right? If I'm driving this thing how I want to drive it on my own terms as a daily from time to time, right? Like right now, I drive the Shelby GT350 3 days of the week. So I drive it Monday, Fridays, Saturdays, and sometimes Sundays, right? And Tuesday to Thursday when I go to school and all that stuff, I take the daily. I take the Kia Forte, the Kia Optima, because it gets way better gas mileage. So, but I've put 12,000 miles in the Shelby GT350 in just 10 months of ownership. I've already done 3 oil changes. My 4th one I'm gonna do here in about a week. So I wouldn't even be covered for this last oil change, and the oil changes on this thing is it's about $200, right? You $160 for the 10 quarts and the filter, like another 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks. So, I mean, and give it takes about 180 to $200 for the oil changes on this thing. And so man, that finance manager got the finance guy got so pissed. He was not even in a good mood anymore after that. Because I didn't pay for any fees. All I paid for was a processing fee, and that was it. They reduced the vehicle price from 59,999 to 55,000. So like that was like crazy for me. Like for them to take off $4,700 off the vehicle price. I didn't pay any tint, any freaking pink vehicle theft protection plan, like none of that dumbass shit that these salesmen try to sell you on to get their commission. I didn't pay any of that. So thank you, Cody, and the team under Reiner Ford and Dales. Thank you guys for being awesome. But yeah, like this best freaking deal I could ever get with the last 2 Mustangs I bought, the one in 2017 and the one that I just purchased here this last year in 2024. And so I bought it for my 30th birthday, and you know what? One of the best decisions I've ever made. Like I freaking love this thing. Like I said, I put 12,000 miles on it, and I have no issues. The flat plane crank, the 6-speed Tremec, like dude, you can't beat it. And the Shelby GT350 is like on the road, like it breaks people's necks, man. It breaks freaking cops' necks, and it beats almost anything on the street. Like unless you're a BMW with your downpipe and tune, okay, whatever. But it's not like I'm out there street racing people on a drag race or something, right? Like I'm just like, hey, do some quick pulls, and get the blood flowing. You hop on the freeway and you floor it. Like that thing is legit. Like it's more power than you need, but it's there if you want it. Like then that's the important thing. But you know what? Even after these long ass days, like this car takes all the worries from me, takes all the clears my head. It clears your head, and so I don't know. I mean, that's how I've always been. When you're gonna buy a vehicle, you want to get something that you want. Sure, have the daily, right? But you want something that you can come home to and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go for a drive and I'm going to clear my head. I'm going to enjoy my time with this thing. I love how it sounds. I love how it drives. I mean, you just can't beat it. So that is how I ended up with my Mustang 2017 GT 5.0 Coyote, 435 horsepower. And then how I did the same thing and maintained my boot status buying a Shelby GT350 2019. But maybe it's not so much of a boot move because I was an upgrade. But my interest rate was at 7.5%, so I'm kind of up there. But either way, it's paid off now, and blessed, thankful for everything, and hopefully this vehicle lasts me some time. I'm already at 30,000 miles. I bought it with 18,000 miles, and I don't know. We'll see. I eventually want to supercharge this thing and drive the daily most of the days and only drive this thing on the weekends or something like that. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching and hearing my story and how I ended up with my bootmobiles. Have a good day, guys.